I'm Dr. Mel, and welcome to another edition of Dr. Mel's Message. Today, I have an incredible young man that I'm going to interview, and I am so excited because let me put it to you this way. Have you ever thought about becoming an organ donor? I mean, I know that I've had two people in my life that are recipients of organs, and I myself am an organ donor when the time comes to it. But this man took an incredible step in a journey that is unbelievable. And not only has he done that, he's a best-selling author, and he has his memoir too. So without further delay, I want to introduce you to this incredible young man. His name is Vincent Shiano. Welcome, Vince. How are you?
Wow, that was an amazing introduction. Thank you, Dr. Mel. I appreciate it.
Oh no, I am so excited. I could not wait to just sit down and talk with you. And most people get really nervous when they think they're going to be being interviewed, and maybe a potential 14 million people are going to see them. But I
Yeah.
hope I relax you and just
The way we started this, you couldn't have relaxed me anymore. That was perfect.
Okay, good. Now
Yeah.
let's talk about number one, about your book. It's called Always Forward, and it
Mhm.
hasn't become a bestseller. And
Mhm.
the book is about your journey. We know that. But let's just talk a little bit more about your book, and then we're going to talk about what you do, and then we're going to talk about your journey. Okay?
Okay. All right. All right. And for as long as I can remember, been kind of an outgoing guy. People always told me, write a book, and it really felt like I had anything to write about. I'm sure that's a very cliche thing that all authors have said, but I think that's probably what planted the seed, and it kind of just lived in the back of my subconscious. And um, along the way, through this journey, where if you read the book, you'll see it's more about kind of a young man searching for purpose and a coming of age from a boy to a man, basically. And I don't know that we probably talk about that stuff enough in a really open and honest way, and especially men, I guess, in some regard. But this whole story kind of evolved as I figured out what was most important in my life through chapters and phases, and it led to a tremendous opportunity to donate a liver. And the point of the book is everything I got out of it, right? How it enriched my life. A wife, daughter, another one on the way, unbelievable perspective shift in my life where, kind of starting to focus more on servant leadership consulting and building businesses that enrich, your family, community, and friendships. So did I
Well,
answer your question?
yes, and your story is just really, really incredible. So first of all, did you always know that you were going to be an organ donor, or did just come out of the blue?
No, so no, I didn't.
All right. So what happened? What's the journey here?
Yeah. I'm gonna keep a little for myself so people read the book,
Right.
right?
I understand.
But we're basically going to go. So as grad school finished and I got into the company that I applied for 4 or 5 times, and this young 25-year-old's kind of idea of making it in society, right? Getting to a 6-figure job, getting to all those things that probably, I don't want to use the word vapid, but probably shouldn't have been priority one. I kind of reached a point of reckoning where once I got there, I started to look around, and I maybe wasn't so happy. And so the first thing that happened was and then you'll see this stuff behind me. I went to run with the bulls in Spain, and it was one of those things that I'd always wanted to do. I'm kind of a bit of a thrill seeker, but it was an immature decision in the sense that I correlated it with solving my problems, right? It was more of an escape from reality. But the way that manifests itself in the book is that I got this tremendous experience. I realized that I had an abundance of wealth in terms of friendship, the ability to have people come run with me. But when I got back, I reached another low point. And so I started, the book opens to talk about the point of, hopefully as you mature, you reach a point of introspection in your life where you're looking inward and seeing how you react or operate within the world. And that's what started to happen. And so it's really clips along through all of that. So now my mind's eye is kind of open, looking for the opportunity, like looking for purpose, right? I have everything I thought I wanted, and that wasn't right. So let's recalibrate. Let's start looking. And through a series of events at my job, I was able to, again, I feel like a strength as a leader for me is I have really strong relationships. And one of these people that I was close to, his daughter needed a liver to survive. And she had already had some very extreme complications that had led to her losing his grandchild while she was born.
Wow.
So for me, like, again, this is a big theme in the book. If you're paying attention to something that you really want, when the universe provides it, I would have paid him to do it, because it was an opportunity for purpose. It was what I was looking for. And at least for 4 or 5 months, this pervasive feeling that I needed to do something more would be gone. And there's so many side stories that come out of all of this.
Right.
And I think the book does a good job tying that in. But the end of the story, is that it was successful, obviously. I met my wife through this process, or I guess I became quite close. She was, I think we've been
You're not married. You're not only married, but you have 2 children, right?
Yeah. Beautiful, love of my life. I'll show you a picture here later. But so, but she was one of the first people, when you tell people, they're like, you're crazy. And they don't tell you you're crazy because they're not on board with altruism or what you're trying to do.
Right.
It's because they're protective of me. And I understood that too. But yeah, it's a crazy story.
So did you have to sign up first to be a donor, or did you go through a matching process, or what?
No, so let's talk about that for the listeners. Let's talk about the difference between being an organ donor and a living organ donor.
Oh, good, because I want to do that, because I noticed over on your website, and I'm going to plug it real quick, because to me, I think it's very important.
Okay,
over on your website, you have where you can actually sign up to become a donor.
Yes, that's correct. And so I've done some stuff on my Instagram page where I've tried to generate some awareness, where I've done these things called life runs in cities where I spell on Strava. You can actually spell the word life with how you run. And it's to raise awareness that way. But
talk about the difference type.
Okay, organ donor is post-mortem, right? So after you pass away,
that's what I'm signed up for.
Right. And we all see the little heart on your ID or any of that. But let me tell you why that's extremely valuable. The recipient of my liver it's a very complicated surgery, the liver, right? I think something like 90% of your blood runs through the liver inside 1 minute. So they have to rewire your whole infrastructure, your vascular infrastructure. And, I'm not a doctor, so my vernacular is a little off, please. But so in some instances, they need veins and arteries as ancillary organs to help this process along. My recipient, they literally had scalpel to skin to harvest organs from her own leg, which would have made the surgery exponentially harder. But because someone had been generous after they died, you could have put it in like Grey's Anatomy or something. they popped into the OR, as I was told, as they were about to cut her, and provided those things. So that in and of itself saved my donor's life. So or my recipient's life. So that's very powerful. It's a very personal choice. So I don't want to mistake anything with the viewership, that I'm here to advocate for a life of purpose. And obviously I think it's a tremendous story, and I think it's great for a lot of young people looking to maybe recalibrate a few things, but this is a personal choice. I'm just here to share that. So living organ donor, most common in kidney by far, right? We're all familiar with the fact that you can give away
kidney, right?
Yeah.
And lung.
And it's relative. I don't know about lung. I don't. But relatively minor procedure compared to liver.
Yeah, I guess so.
The liver, the way that you donate your liver is you have 2 bile ducts running through your liver. And if you can picture that, this one bile duct, they can harvest as much of your liver as possible while leaving you a bile duct. Everything on one side of the bile duct and the other is called left and right lobe. So effectively, that one bile duct goes into the recipient, and it operates and it feeds everything that it needs to into the recipient, and then mine will grow back. This is what's
crazy. Grow back?
2 weeks. And I mean, that's pretty crazy. I think that they cut between 70 and 77% of my liver out, depending. So it was a large portion. And I mean, you can feel it, especially as a guy. I don't think guys spend a lot of time thinking about negative space or internal,
Mhm.
negative space in their body, but you're aware of it. And it's interesting how much energy it takes out of you when you can literally feel
You're
something.
not even healed after 2 weeks, much less to have a liver regenerate.
I mean, I think I was at a Pirates game inside of a week, which might have been a mistake, but it definitely was a mistake, but minor, and again, like another shout out to my now wife. At the time, she left the medicine and went back to the hotel to get it and came back to the Pirates game.
Wow.
And, it's just a bunch of stuff that you need to help your body along when it comes to recovery. So it was it was as I would tell my brother, a really gnarly experience, but it was cool. I mean, you can't simulate something like that.
No, not at all. Now, you have parents, right?
I do.
What did they think about you donating half of your liver?
I don't know at first how serious they took me. Uh, and I don't mean that in the sense
Now,
that
how old were you at the time you donated your liver?
30, this was 2019. So I
Oh,
was 33.
wow.
But it was a perfect time. Like as I joked with my wife before her, I kissed a lot of frogs. So I was quite single. I didn't have children to think about at the time. I can make this decision in a vacuum.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, I'm not advocating for that. Everyone has very different situations. But for me, this was a mountain to climb. And in the book, I talk about that. And I think that's part of my personality I've accepted is that I need mountains to climb. And this was a big one for me. And it broke a lot of mental barriers that allowed me to write a book and launch other businesses and start speaking and consulting. And so it's a big deal for me.
Now, when you speak and consult, you talk about your journey, or do you talk? What is your topics?
I'll give you an example. I mean, I try and stay in my lane in terms of the audience that I speak to, and then I always tailor the message. But we have something right now called Built to Fail, and it just talks about my life and making a lot of mistakes along the way and how it helped build resiliency, and eventually you build a foundation, and from a foundation you can grow purpose and principles. And if you have those three things, that during hard times you will be resilient. But if you don't have those three things, then cracks in your foundation, for example, they'll reveal themselves very quickly. And so through each failure, I think I got stronger and better. And this goes all the way back to me as a teen.
Right. Now, anybody that is picking up this book, what do you hope that they get out of it?
Just a really positive, happy story. When I told my wife I was doing this, she's, everyone keeps asking me what I want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to write a good story. And, as one of my partners said, it also has the benefit of being true. But I like to put a little bit of positivity out in the world. I think we probably need that. And I think that you should lead by example. And I think that there's a lot of that here. And I think that it will allow me to do the things that I want to do after the book, which is to mentor, inspire, coach, and collaborate with people that have similar principles themselves. So, and
Well,
that's
you
that's been the
definitely,
case.
yeah, you definitely have such a positive outlook. And I love your title, Always Forward, because you hear it all your life, pay it forward, pay it forward, pay it forward. And not only are you a living example of paying it forward, you gave a body part forward
Yeah.
to
So
a young woman to live. Now, and I know we can't really talk about the recipient that much, but she's healthy, she's surviving, she's got a life. I mean,
she has a beautiful daughter now. But I mean, I tell that to spoiler alert for the end of the book, but that was mission accomplished, right? So, and she's beautiful. So at my wife's baby shower, we got to meet her baby. And I mean, talk about like bookending everything, It's,
Wow.
you
That
know,
brings tears to your eyes.
it's a cool story. It really is. It wasn't, but this is the point of Always Forward. But let me go back to the title, because
Okay.
if you're in marketing, you would tell me this was a very bad title. And I came to learn this as you get into the business of developing books, because what you would do is you would research Always Forward. You would find out that there's a t-shirt company that already exists. There's 3 other books that have the same title, and it's impossible to buy the URL. But the reason that it's called that, besides the general sentiment and theme of the book, is when we did go run with the Bulls in Spain, I mean, it did bring some positive things to light. And one of them was, I had a brand on my chest from the Citadel, a little silly thing that guys do there to themselves. And I was kicked out. So it's part of the story that I tell, right? I went to the Citadel kind of cocksure and without a foundation or principles. And I got there by February, got there in August, kicked out by February. And it was always a reminder of, mistakes made, regret in the past. And so once we got there, I got a tattoo over it that just said Always Forward. I don't know why. It was something that was symbolic to me. No one would see, but would remind me that you got to leave that in the past and keep making progress. And again, in true fashion of the book, I had no idea at that time that I was ever writing a book. I did like Hemingway. We went to Cafe Aruña and I saw him. I got married in Key West, and I've been to Hemingway's house, and all these things just started. If you start listening, it will start to pour out, and that's what happened. So all of this pieced itself together, and it was difficult, but we just had to put it on the page.
What's next for you?
Everyone keeps asking me that. We're only a week into this book being out, and it's been very successful. So I really need to focus. I want to focus on learning the business of the book world. It is hard. I don't have to tell you that.
I have over 100 books. You're preaching to the choir.
I don't have to tell you, and I'm a newbie at this, but I want to give this book its best shot, and I want to tell this story anywhere I can. And from there, I think thematically, it's already happening, right? I told you I spoke at the Greenville Chamber of Commerce, right, young professionals, and I've had the opportunity to mentor some NFL football players, and now they're close friends of mine. And I have a background in finance. I'm a certified financial planner by education, but I work in risk and compliance. So there's all these different levers that I'm excited to pull. And if you read the beginning of the book, it talks about the fact that I'm an ADHD kid with generalized anxiety disorder, and all it talks about how you can kind of define yourself in the scope of the world. But what I've learned is that I'm starting to define myself my way, and I'm taking on all these projects, and it's overwhelming in the right way, if that makes sense. I've got a ton of opportunity. So.
Well, Vince, you are an incredible young man that has not only set an example for not just men and women, but kids, everybody. And I'm not so sure if I would have the courage to donate part of my liver. I mean, it's like, wow. I know that I've signed up to be a organ donor at the time of my, death, but I don't know about the living one. So that, and I'm so glad that you said it up front, that this story isn't about sign up and become a living organ donor. That's not what the story is about. The story is defining your purpose and who you are, and where can you help not only your family, but society and the world as a whole. Finding our purposes. That's what your book is really about. You just happen to have an incredible story that goes with it.
And there's all these small pieces that, I don't want to go into too much detail on, because I really do hope that everyone will read it. I've been absolutely beyond thrilled. I think that when you put out a memoir, there's a whole other unique challenge that I didn't realize.
You've got to self-disclose so much on a personal level.
That's right. And if it's not well received, they're not rejecting a made up story.
They're rejecting you.
You, right. So, man, I really didn't think that one through, but, but luckily but when it works, man, I mean, I have connected with more people who have come up to me and said, my father got a heart, or you know, all this other stuff. And we're trying to figure out and get everything right to where, as the sales for this book continue to climb, we can do something charitable. I'm talking with the hospital system that I did it with, and maybe we could set up a small foundation or a small account where, because when you travel to do something like this, it can be very costly and burdensome on a family. And so fortunately for us, my recipient set up a GoFundMe page, and they were well capitalized to be able to put me in Pittsburgh for a month. But
Wow.
I mean, that's what it takes, right? Because we wanted to do it at the Starsville Institute, and they're, you know, my surgeon was incredible. I just had a great experience. But
Wow.
we're really excited for all the things you're going to do. But the nuances of the book, right? If my uncle had never taught me to play chess, I don't know that this would have happened. And I'm not going to expound on that, but you'll see it.
Wow.
You'll see it in the book.
Yeah, that's a wide open, you better read me statement.
Yeah, you just
You know,
don't know. You
whoa.
just don't know where things are going to all connect. You know,
Right.
you got to pay attention and look for
So
it.
it is a journey, and it is a path of self-discovery,
Yeah, 100%.
and it is at several moments defining who you are, not only as a man, but as a person. So it
Yeah.
is a journey. Now, where,
That's right.
if somebody wants to buy the book, where can they find it?
It's on Amazon under Always Forward. We have it on Kindle and physical copy, and the audiobook should be up by the end of February. Right now, we're going through recording and all of that. So,
All right. And what is your website?
tongue in cheek, because I do consider myself a bit of a jokester, greatest book of all time.
I love it.
So, yeah, greatest book of all time. If you're interested in having me come speak, you can contact me there as well. And we can talk about, you know, the way that we can deliver a powerful message together.
Well,
Always Forward 21 is our Instagram as well.
I love it. I want to thank you, Vince, for coming on Dr. Mel's Message. I can't remember the last time I talked to somebody so remarkable as yourself that sets an example through their writing. And that's just incredible. And
well,
I applaud you for that.
You're extremely kind. I will tell you that, you know, I'm nodding my head and smiling, but I do not do well with compliments. So my recipient might watch this and she's going to be like, oh my gosh. But yes, thank you. You're so kind.
Well, tell your recipient I'd love to interview her next.
Okay.
I know you can't give me her info, but you certainly can give her mine.
Okay. All right.
All right. Now, again, I have been spending the last 20 minutes or so with Vince, an incredible young man. Now you know why I was so excited to interview him. His book, Always Forward, available in ebook, available in paperback on Amazon. And I would, follow him on his website, because as he grows with his own journey in this, we're going to have opportunities to grow ourselves, whether you become an organ donor, or whether you buy this book and pass it on to somebody that is receiving an organ or considering it, or just for a heartwarming story that will fill the warmth of your heart. So go now, buy this book over on Amazon, Always Forward by Vincent Shiano. Thank you, Vincent.
Thanks, Dr. Mel.